I was never chosen. Never blessed. Never meant to be holy. I'm a fake saintess, one who lies, survives, and pretends to hear the voices of gods who were never supposed to notice me. But something goes wrong. The gods do notice. They watch my every move, twist fate in my favor, and refuse to let me disappear. Miracles happen at my words, disasters stop at my feet, and the divine obsession grows stronger with each lie I tell. In a world where faith is power and sainthood is a death sentence, I must keep acting holy, or risk angering the gods who have already claimed me as theirs. Ariel said it's time for us to finally put an end to this. Kyle said we will no longer live in turmoil. Saintess, please make a decision. Please, for the eternal peace of the Empire. The cries of the subordinates from each of the powers, and the gazes of the three men who lead them. The Crown Prince and Sword Master of the Allied Empire, Kyle Alexis Vede. Kyle thinks choose me, or else, with golden hair and eyes, the High Priest who looks as if he belongs in a painting, Rehos Del, thinks I have prepared a prison just for you, my goddess. The owner of the Great Lloyd Merchant Guild, with deep blue eyes, Cass Hyde. Ariel thinks I don't know what Cass is thinking at all, an impenetrable poker face. Additionally, the messages of the excited gods are unfolding in front of my eyes. Monty, the god of arts, waxes poetry about the aesthetic value of Rehos's appearance. Seal, the god of destruction, argues that a prideful person like Kyle will be able to win love. Hesed, the god of knowledge, lectures about the expensive items owned by the Lloyd Merchant Guild. Odyssey, the god of love, dances fanatically. Ariel thinks how did I end up in this situation? I can hear the gods' insistent clamoring in each of my ears. I can't stall for any longer. It's time to make a decision. Ariel said ha. Annie said Saintess, are you feeling unwell? Ariel said ah. Annie said for the past 2 days, you've been asking for your name, and you seem to be in a constant state of confusion. I'm worried. Ariel said no, I'm feeling better now. Ariel thinks as naturally as possible. Annie said then shall I prepare your meal first? If you're feeling unwell, I'll ask them to prepare it now. At this rate, you won't be able to give your regards to His Highness at his birthday banquet. The High Priest even prepared the dress you desired. How much did they say it was? Ariel thinks if I were the original Ariel, I would have probably been horrified at the notion of not being able to congratulate the Crown Prince, right? No way? Have to greet him, no matter what. Ariel replied I'm seriously fine. First, bring me my meal, and not a useless salad. Annie said what do you mean a useless salad? You never eat salads anyway. How surprising. Understood, Saintess. Ariel thinks so I, with sapphire eyes, a youthful face around 17 years old. Saintess Camilla's return. In a book I read in my previous life, Saintess Camilla had a virtuous personality, with 3 handsome men coming from different backgrounds. She is worshipped by those men, meaning this is basically an ending where all 3 of them became Camilla's husband, which was quite shocking. And 2 days ago, as a character who appears in this novel, I reincarnated into Ariel's body. Ariel's mother was a baroness from the humble countryside. As a child born out of wedlock, Ariel was treated almost as if she didn't exist. Even though she didn't truly believe in the gods, she consistently visited the temple and prayed that she would achieve her goal of marrying someone of a better background. When one day, she coincidentally caught the eye of High Priest Rehos and was brought to the temple of Eliam. Since 2 years ago, she has been diligently playing the role of the Saintess, a role created to secure the political stability of Crown Prince Kyle and High Priest Rehos. The terminally ill Saintess Ariel. Even while knowing that she would be thrown out as soon as the real Saintess appeared, she believed the High Priest was her guardian and had a strange one-sided secret adoration towards Crown Prince Kyle. She was an idiotic villainess who loathed Camilla without even knowing her place. The moment she raised her dagger against Camilla, who had forgiven her, the swords of the 3 men stabbed her at the same time, and without even a chance to scream, she died. She thinks as a reader, Ariel's death was satisfying, but I don't want to die. I still vividly remember my death before I reincarnated. I probably can't go back because my past physical body is dead. Ariel thinks that means I will have to live in Ariel's body for the rest of my life. The writer said Ariel always had to be cautious growing up because she was a bastard child, and just when she finally gathered enough money and became independent, she ended up dying a meaningless death 1 year later. Ariel thinks I can breathe in the refreshing breeze, a privilege only people who are alive have. When I felt the chilling touch of death seep from my fingertips to my heart, I realized that anything is better than death. Ariel said compared to my past life, my life as a fake saintess in a book is still better. This life isn't too bad. If I don't live according to the plot, I can change my future. That's right, it's going to be okay, since I reincarnated before she reached the point of no return. Ariel thinks I have no interest in men who will fall in love with someone else, or the position of the Saintess. I have a lot of time left, so I'll focus on learning how to live in this world instead, and when the real Saintess Camilla arrives, I'll simply give up my seat, leave the temple, buy a building, and then spend the rest of my life doing what I want to. Yeah, denying the reality of the situation is just a waste of time. She said Ariel. She thinks that's right. From now on I'm Ariel. To you, who has accepted your new destiny, may you walk the everlasting path of brightness. Ariel said, what is this? She thinks those who existed from the beginning used to find it boring. Now start paying attention to your outstanding stamina. Those who existed from the beginning? Those who existed from the beginning used to find it boring. My outstanding stamina, even though I reread it, I still can't understand what it means. In the end, what? Now start paying attention to your outstanding stami. It's gone. Is this a dream? Reiho said Ariel. Ariel thinks not Annie? Reiho said I'm bringing your meal here for you. She thinks then, She said Reiho's Del. Reiho said today you just call me by my name? She said Reiho thinks so, right? Only true Lady Saint Camilla calls others by their name. Ariel called him the High Priest. Ariel thinks I'm so absent-minded. I'm sorry, High Priest. Reiho said it sounds great too, isn't it? She said, what? Reiho said actually, I also forgot that I have a name. That's okay, if you want to call me that in the future. Reiho thinks if it was the original Ariel, her eyes would be sparkling with stars and she'd love it. It is better not to exceed the limit. Ariel said just now my wording was a bit flawed. How dare I call a high priest by name like that? She thinks I'm the fake Lady Saint Ariel, don't forget this. Ariel said I am really sorry, High Priest. Reiho said I said it before, now this place is Ariel's home. She thinks he is a radiant and peaceful man. However, Reiho said if that's what Ariel wants, then whatever I can give you, whatever it is, I will do it. Just understand that freedom comes with responsibility. That is the limited story of Camilla, the true Lady Saint. In the original story, when Camilla became a saint, the one who always called her name, the supreme priest of the shrine, is as influential as the royal family in the empire, and the man who took Ariel to the shrine and turned her into a fake saint is named Reiho Del. Ariel said of course, the high priest. I really wanted to hear my name from Ariel, it's a pity. Ariel thinks even though it's still that smiling face, I feel pressured. Ariel said thank you for bringing me a meal. She thinks this person is the only one who knows the fact that I am a fake in this shrine. It's no good if I am annoying him. Reiho said but, although we have only met for a few days, today you look a bit different from usual, Ariel. Ariel said is it good enough to study this much? Although last week when talking to the high priest, I seem to have coped very well. So now, I have confirmed a few of the following in the past few days. Now is the year 722, and year 82 in the history of the empire, 5 years before the true Camilla showed up. The place I'm in is the country where religion coexists with the royal and divine elite. 99% of people believe in God, and shrines to gods with different names and titles are everywhere. Those gods are the god of justice Hestus, god of knowledge Hessa, god of love Odyssey, god of art Man, god of destruction Seal, god of love Oman, god of death Kairos, god of lies Bellatrix, and god of eternity Reed. There are a total of 9 gods. Ariel thinks and the Ilium shrine where I am is a place that worships all the unique 9 gods. So among the temples, Ilium is still the most special. In this place the saint was born and has a high degree of integration with the 9 gods, and is also the overall religious leader of the empire. She thinks surely there is information related to the prophecy here. Only saints can receive prophecies. One of the 9 gods will deliver a prophecy containing wisdom to the Saintess. Every book describes a square blue light like a curtain appearing before the eyes, spells glittering as if engraved on the eyes, then fading and disappearing, but the enchanting prophecies remaining as clear as the heart. Ariel thinks because humans can't understand God's language, is it in such a form? Anyway, in the original there was a scene where Camilla used a power called divine, but there's not a single word related to the prophecy? Ariel said I don't know, it has nothing to do with me anyway. I have to read books that can help me in reality. I heard there are a lot of books like the Royal Library. I have to read as much as possible. Almost no people came, and the Lady Saint could use it freely. Also, a good hiding place. Then, Ariel thinks there's also a monthly valid maintenance fee, which is exactly the same as the salary I receive each month. If you combine this and that, it will be calculated according to KRW for a year, and it's about 2,020,000,000 won. She writes and thinks everything is provided by the temple, so if I work hard to contribute even when I retire, I can still enjoy a free life, right? The artifacts donated by nobles, if sold, would be a high price. Ariel before going into the novel, although spending a lot of money right after receiving salary, but now I'm different. After collecting enough money, I will leave the temple and buy a nice building. Is this sound? Ariel thinks it shows up again. What I entered was the world in the novel. Why do things in the game appear like this? I still can't touch it. Did something go wrong when I entered this world? The door knocks and Ariel says come in. Annie says Saintess, I brought snacks here. Ariel thinks just in time, Annie. Did you see this? Annie replies Saintess, you must recover quickly. Ariel thinks of course, only I can see it. Annie says your body is this weak, then it will be difficult for you to complete the main quests. Ariel thinks, there's something strange about the way she talks. Come to think of it, for 3 days I only eat, sleep, and read books. Camilla is a real saintess, so she went around many local shrines and met priests, or regularly met the emperor and crown prince. I'm not a real saintess, so I don't have anything to do. I had to use the excuse of my weak body to explain why I was just hanging around in the shrine, because an imposter like me won't be able to do what the real Saintess can do. Annie says, but Saintess, I told you before that my brother was injured, but I found out that he was in debt, maybe he needs my help. Ariel thinks why is she talking to me about this? Annie says so I'm sorry, but I want the allowance that you give me every month a little bit more. Ariel thinks look, I've seen a smile like that before. That's the smile of people who want to take advantage of me, even though I'm the illegitimate child of a rich family. Those cunning eyes are very similar to the kind of people I had seen in my previous life. Since in the novel, Ariel is a villain with innocent feelings, so for Annie, who will never get rid of her maid status, Ariel must be a bargain. But me, I'm not that Ariel. Ariel says Annie? Annie answers yes, lady. Ariel says did I ever give you money? Annie says yes you did. You did me a favor for worrying about my little brother, but why are you suddenly asking about that? Ariel says how much did I give you? Annie says 650 per month. I don't expect much either, just increase it by 50. Ariel thinks the maid's salary is at most 200, but did she say 650? I now know the reason why Ariel doesn't have any money. Ariel says that's really sinister you? Annie says, yes? Ariel says, what a disappointing. Annie says I'm not in a good mood today, so think carefully before you talk. Ariel says no, listen to my words. After this, I won't give you any more money, not even 1 coin. You are a maid working for the Saintess, so you can receive a full salary. Why are you asking me for money? Annie shouts but. Ariel says if you worry about your brother that much, then bring him here. I heard there's still a shortage of manpower at the stables. I'll take a look and take your brother there. Annie shouts Saintess. Annie thinks the one she had always thought was inferior to herself, surely she is in shock right now. I know that look. I've been through a lot before. Ariel thinks for a maid, that is a disrespectful attitude, with disdainful eyes. Annie says, Saintess, looks like you forgot it. I know your secret. You. Ariel sees her eyes widen. Annie shouts, you're a fake. Ariel thinks that's right. Ariel gave her money because she found the maid pitiful. But actually, it wasn't because she was benevolent. Ariel thinks again it's just that she was so stupid that she was scared by a servant's threat. Annie says, if I revealed the truth, you're a fake. Ariel says, all right, just say it. Annie says, what? Perhaps until now, Ariel still intends to give money to Annie to silence her. Then maybe 700 francs. First 300 or 400 francs. But everything has changed. Ariel says, go tell them I'm a fake. Annie says, if I say it, you Saintess. Ariel says, if I was found to be an impostor, I would probably be executed. But one servant received up to 650 francs in a month with the fact that she concealed her complicity. What would happen? What should we do? I'm a semi-noble, so even if I die, I'll die beautifully. But what about a servant? I don't think so. Annie says, S.A. Saintess. You must be jealous of my scaffold, right? Ariel says, Annie, if you knew I was a fake, then tell the truth. You and I are in the same boat, you know? Are you willing to risk your life? Ariel says, you sacrificed all your life. Does your family know about this too? Annie says, only I know the story that the goddess is a fake. Ariel says, it's real. Annie says, my family knows nothing. Annie says, I'm not sure. Ariel says, I will directly listen to your family, right? Annie says, gee goddess. I seem to have been too arrogant. You don't need to give me that money anymore. I apologize. I won't make bad mistakes like this again. Ariel says, I was taken advantage of by a girl with this level of skill. Annie says, goddess, please forgive me. Ariel says, Lord. Dear Lord. It's not what you think this is. Reyes says, circumstances are just circumstances. I took care of them on the spot. Ariel thinks Rahas's judgment is right. Ariel thinks Annie is a bad kid because she had used the secret which she shouldn't know to threaten me. There's no guarantee that my true identity won't be revealed. However, in this situation, Reyes says, I'll clean this mess. Please take a rest, goddess. Ariel cries and says, Hayes. Ariel thinks, that's true. The problem is because it's the right judgment. Just like Annie, who just died without being asked anything, one day, I'll be the same. Ariel thinks I'll earn 650 francs per month. What will happen to the woman servant who hides my fake goddess identity? Will I be condemned to death? Reyes thinks did she used to be valuable and have ambition like that? If she had been intelligent at first, she wouldn't have been involved until now. Ariel thinks Eliam, where Rahas is relying on, is the temple that worships 9 gods. Apart from the goddess, serving all the gods, priests in the temple serve for different gods. Among them, the god whom Lord Rahas is serving is the god of art, moans. Annie says, gee goddess. Hi. Ariel bows and says, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll be careful not to make the same mistake again. Ariel says, it's fine. I'm alright. It's not something serious, but it's fine. You can go now. Annie says, sorry, goddess. Please call me whenever you need help. Ariel says, okay. Ariel thinks making a fuss just because of a small thing. People behave sensitively just because of that. I'm tired of this. Servants have been changed, so I misunderstand. Once again, this is not modern life. The value of human life is also different. But it has been only one day and the people here are so calmly facing dead people. I'm not used to this. Now I understand why Rahas behaves like that. Reyes thinks being a fake goddess, this is a secret which can turn the empire upside down. Both empire and emperor will suffer heavy damages. Reyes thinks, however, circumstances are just circumstances. I took care of them on the spot. Ariel thinks I should escape soon. My lifespan would decrease if I kept waiting for the real goddess. Anna died. My life isn't different either. Also, what is this game dialogue box? The first existence, or the prophecy, it's all an eyesore. Ariel writes and thinks it's hard to manage a large one. If I sell all the sacred objects, I can buy a medium building. In the original novel, Ariel is an apathetic character. As long as I disguise enough, Rahas will quickly forget about me. Ariel says 3 years. She thinks Anna is no longer alive, so I don't need to give her 65% of my salary per month now. I just need to save up. The door knocks and she thinks that? Is it, Rahas? Is it okay to suddenly enter the Saintess's room? How rude. Ariel says, may the 9 gods bless the Lord. Rahas thinks it seems that recently she's learnt the official greeting etiquette of a Saintess, and says thank you, Ariel. Have you already learnt about it? Ariel replies, about that. She thinks that's why I'm in the process of calculating payments. What a mess. If he sees this, he'll know about the escape plan. If so then, Ariel says just in time, let me show you something. Rahas asks, what is it? Ariel says tomorrow is His Highness Kyle's birthday celebration. What do you plan to do? She thinks even though it was written by Ariel, I didn't know it would be so helpful. Rahas says title, Happy Birthday Your Highness, and writes in the letter, Happy Birthday dear His Highness Kyle. His Highness was born to be loved. I'm also receiving love in His Highness's life. The love of the 9 gods started all the way from the beginning. Rahas thinks Ariel. I know I am innocent, but I didn't expect it to be at this level. How can I make an excuse like this? So embarrassed. Rahas says, anyway, it's good to rewrite. I'll quickly, love, you love His Highness Kyle, huh? Ariel replies that, because, it doesn't have to be that kind of love. Rahas thinks to the impersonating Saintess, unrequited love seems to be a pitiful topic. Ariel says like a god who loves a normal person, I wrote it as a blessing. Rahas asks if Prince Kyle doesn't accept that, then what would you do? Ariel thinks what? Why is he suddenly becoming so cautious? This wish contains Ariel's sincere heart, but it's almost impossible for Prince Kyle to think seriously about it. If it was Ariel, then she wouldn't change it. What do you know? How can this be read in front of other people? Ariel says if the listener misunderstands, Pahir will probably correct it. Rahas says just think of it as a mistake. You seem to grow up lately. Ariel says thank you. Ariel thinks he praised me for being mature just because of these things. She says stay still. Thank you. Ariel thinks I don't dare to look him in the eye. Rahas says then, see you tomorrow morning. Ariel leaves and thinks forget those embarrassing memories. Let's arrange tomorrow's royal event. Don't be like that. Reference books, HM? Ariel sees a man clutching a maid and thinks what kind of situation is that? The maid says if it's like this, it will be very awkward. I'm a god worshipper. The man, Hans, says just because you worship a god doesn't mean you don't have time to eat a meal with me, right? Besides, you're not an official nun, you're just a probationary. Whether it's a formality or not, the devotion to the gods is the same. If not, then what about having a little drink? Stop turning me down. It would be more fascinating than this library. Ariel thinks Christian believers. Anna says if you continue to insult me, I will go to the shrine. Ariel says please get out. If you want to see a woman, please get out. She's a nun. Anna says Saintess. Ariel says can't you hear me? Get off. Hans says I'm having a nice chat with this lady. What are you saying? Ariel says but she doesn't seem to want to talk to you. Anna says he is the one who unilaterally harassed me. Hans says harass? Ariel says seems like Eliam chose the wrong one to mess with. You talked about the same thing, but now each of you says a different thing. Hans says nonsense, how can I insult you? Ariel says what? Haven't you just invited her out for a drink? Ariel says sorry, but may I ask which family you come from? Hans says I'm Hans from the Rage Field. Ariel thinks seems like they're not a famous family in the political group. I've never heard of the name Hans. Hans says I have clarified my identity, and now it is the turn of the new girl. The insults I received today from this girl, I'll put all of my heart into the shrine in the name of my family, even the name of this Saintess. Hans says what are you saying? Do you know who you are talking to? As a new one, I want to say something. Anna says what? Hans says look, why aren't you answering my question? Ariel says the one with the authority to obliterate comes from Ilium Temple. Tell him. Anna says yes, Saintess. The Lord is the one who has the right to remove you. The High Priest and the Saintess. Ariel says right, the Saintess has all the right to banish you. Being banished from Ilium Temple means that you're removed from the royals. Han says, are you joking with me right now? What? You will banish me? Ariel says, no need to be like that, Han's rage fueled, because I am the Saintess. Han says, you. Ariel says, I will officially file a complaint against your family about this. Han shouts, wait a minute. Bows and says, I'm sorry. I never thought that you were the Saintess. I wouldn't have dared to do it if I had known. I've committed a grave mistake. Your Grace, please forgive me. Ariel says, if you want my forgiveness, then there's something you'll have to do. Han says, yes? What is it? Ariel says, the one you should apologize to is over there. Han says, but I was just joking earlier. Ariel says, you mean my eyes and nose, together with the witness of the 9 gods, are wrong, right? Han says, I was wrong. Ariel thinks seems like the situation is resolved for now. Ariel says, could you bring me the collection of blessings from the party and the royal books behind that man for me? Han says, yes, Your Grace. Ariel thinks what? The notification says the primitive beings who were originally bored are now curious about your determination. The primitive beings have become extremely curious about your existence. You are the first one to have acquired their rare trust. Trust has been unlocked. You can receive 1 trust point right now. Ariel thinks what? Trust has been unlocked? What is this? So the gods really have their eyes on me? Ariel says perhaps my existence is weird. The notifications keep popping up as if it's the opening day of a club. She thinks, but this trust thing looks like a game interface. How can I receive their trust if I'm not the real Saintess? Trust is an inherent ability of the Saintess, and can only be summoned in special situations. It was clearly written here. Ariel says, can I turn it off? The god of art Mond is holding your portrait and threatening you. The god of love Odyssey is running rampant. The god of knowledge Hesed is looking at you with pitiful eyes. Ariel says, all right, I won't turn it off then. The god of knowledge Hesed is showing trust in you. Ariel thinks finally being able to connect to the internet after constantly being disconnected, or like finding a two-way radio on a deserted island. Ariel thinks no matter how much I don't want to do it, I can't fight against this trust. She says, but can I really do it? I'm not the real Saintess anyway. The god of knowledge Hesed has something to say to you. Use censor this. The content of the books is flowing inside my head on its own. It feels like I'm reading dozens, no, hundreds of books at once. These are the books I couldn't read, including the imperial banquet law and the collection of congratulating speeches for the royal party. With this much knowledge, I won't have to worry about anything. Then it says cannot use censor because of low trust level. Ariel thinks what? They all left. Besides, does that mean I can't get accepted because I'm not knowledgeable enough? Anyway, I should check what I've received from this trust. It says you received a blessing from the god of knowledge Hesed. Ariel thinks my head feels much lighter now, doesn't it? The content is already flowing through my head just by looking at the book. She thinks great, now my work will be much easier. It still surprises me how sudden this trust thing is. Perhaps it's an unexpected good fortune. Ariel says I feel great after taking a shower. I read so many books before going to sleep last night, but still, resting is important. Moreover, Ariel thinks Hesed's blessing will only last for about 3 hours, right? It's nice to be able to learn and understand so quickly, but it will turn back to normal after the effect is gone. What a shame. The door knocks. Ariel says, come in. Rehaz says, did you have a good sleep last night, Ariel? She thinks the god of art Mond can't take their eyes off Rehaz. Ariel says yes, thanks to the god's blessings. Rehaz says it seems like you had to learn a lot yesterday. Ariel says I have to carefully prepare the Saintess's congratulatory speech to represent the honor of the priests. Ariel thinks after all, if I want to survive, I have to show my sincerity like a real Saintess. I only need to maintain my relationships with the men as a good person. What's with his reaction? Perhaps did I act differently from the real Ariel? If that's the case, Ariel says until now, I've been acting childish. I don't know how long it will take to find a Saintess to succeed me, but I'll try to become a Saintess that won't cause trouble for everyone. She thinks let's use self-reflection to distract him, Reyes says. Ariel, I said this before too. This is your home, so stop saying things like that. Ariel thinks those words make me feel like if he finds out I'm not the real Saintess, he won't let me survive. Reyes says, now, shall we review the congratulatory speech that you prepared? Ariel said, is there something weird? No, it's just, Reyes said, you're so great. You've been a lot more mature. Your writing skills are just unbelievable. Ariel thinks I was indeed suspected. I did a good job copying the book on purpose. Reyes said, it's just a slightly modified version of the paragraph I read in the book. Ariel said, okay. No wonder why it's much better than the last letter y'all wrote. Reyes replied, but I heard that there's some commotion in the library recently. She thinks, well, there is? Yeah, I stopped by the library to borrow a book to write a congratulatory letter, then I caught the maid of the goddess Annie and the dandy of Baron Ragefield flirting with each other. Ariel said, as a saint, I told them to be more attentive, maybe it was a little too much. I removed the name from the list. Reyes said, including Hans Ragefield and all the disciples of the Ragefield family. If there are any such disrespectful incidents in the future, please let me know. I'll work them out appropriately. She said, oh, Ariel thinks you took the names of them all out? Annie and Hans can solve it at a glance. Her god said. Hesed, the god of knowledge, carefully analyzes Rahas. Hesed, the god of knowledge, warns against Rahas. Hesed, the god of knowledge, judges that Rahas has an impure heart. Man, the god of art, asserts that the outward integrity of Rahas may just be the cover of his inner impurity. Ariel thinks, no, why is it like that out of the blue? Hesed, the god of knowledge, criticized Manda's superficialism. Reyes said, are you feeling dizzy? Ariel said, yeah, no, just, I think the high priest's determination is great. It's always not easy to cut off the rotten parts. There are some benefit intertwined relationships here and there, because the benefits might be involved. Reyes replied, the priests criticize that I'm a dictator, but the Lady Saint's opinion seems totally different. Ariel said, I think that the high priest is a fair and just person. I've always been thinking so. She thinks because I read the original, I can say it with sincerity. Different from the prince who has political intentions, the reason for introducing the fake Lady Saint is to solve the confused public mind about the empty seat of the Lady Saint. To the villain Ariel, she's nothing but a grim reaper, but to Camilla, it's the opposite. He is a protector and at the same time a strong supporter. If I were not the villain Ariel, I might have admired him a little. Reyes said, I think I took too much time for you. I'll leave now. Enjoy the meal comfortably. Ariel thinks, did I say something wrong? Why is he reacting in such a cold way? Anyway, it's lucky that I could get through it safely. And said, by the way, her god said Mand, the god of art, is giving his opinion about the golden ratio of the human body. Odyssey, the god of love, is listening seriously to Manda's thoughts. Hesed, the god of knowledge, is preaching that the inner values are much more important than the looks. Mand, the god of art, listening to Hesed's preaching, is sniggering and says that appearances are the most important. Odyssey, the god of love, insists that we wait longer because there are some men who are more handsome than Rahas. Ariel smiled and said, there, I'm begging you. Reyes said, could you guys have a little more constructive conversation? Ariel thinks, could you guys have a little more constructive conversation? Her eyes are blue. Why do I only realize just now? I think the high priest is a fair and just person. Reyes thinks, is Ariel someone who could smile that gently? Taking her here, she's too naive and lacks to play this fake saint game. But even if we change the person, Ariel said, the high priest. I heard that the Lady Saint has appeared. Man said, why did you remove the saint disciples' names without consulting me? Man named Haynes, the chief priest of the temple Eliam. Haynes said even if it was a Lady Saint, she could not mention the removal of the names so directly like that. How could even the high priest agree to that? Why expulse a whole family by constructive criminal liability? And the other priests cannot accept that. Ray has said there must be some big misunderstandings. The decisive reason for the expulsion was that he and some rotten high priests of the temple Eliam did many nasty deals. Somebody said that it's hard to cut out the rotten parts, but it just feels great. Therefore, I'm thinking of uprooting those. What's your opinion of the chief priest? Chief Priest Hoynes said I'm just here to express my hope that you would discuss it with me. And the Lady Saint has never properly played the role of the saint even once. So I think abusing power like that is not good. The High Priest deserves to be expelled, but the Lady Saint is only, Ray has said that's really a blasphemous story. Recently it's said that there's a dark energy flowing from the Ares mine. Many abnormal phenomena have occurred in which many monsters appear. When people are idle, they tend to think nonsense. So I'll send the chief priest a chance to go to the Ares mine. Hoynes said, High Priest. If I go there, I never know when I'll be able to return to Eliam. As a chief priest, I can't leave my seat. Besides, I'm too old and weak. Ray has said, surely, it's compulsory that the chief priest goes there directly. I urge you to investigate there. Therefore, on the other side, what is this? Annie said, this girl insists on telling some words to the Lady Saint. You were the apprentice goddess I saw last time. Ariel said, what do you want to tell me? Maid said, Lady Saint, I want to serve you. Ariel said, sorry, but I only need one servant. Ariel thinks Annie knows her place, but the new girl coming today has magical power, so she might be more dangerous. That's why Ray only has maids next to her. Maid said, at that time I still couldn't thank you, goddess. Ariel said, I happen to have business at the bookshelf in front of you. Maid said, but I really want to be by your side. Ariel said, not long ago, a maid named Annie died in front of me. She was the one following me for a very long time. Do you know why she died? Because she didn't know how to keep her mouth shut. The maid who has followed me for so long has also died. So how long can a new maid like you survive? Ariel thinks I guess she's scared, Maid said. I still want to be by your side. I used to be an orphan until my uncle adopted me. Because of that, I can have a life like this, but nothing has changed since then. I couldn't say anything to the mocking words of those noble people. Instead, I had to beg the ones who slapped me first. But that day, the first time in my life, I've received an apology from a noble. You look like the light shining my whole life. If I need to sacrifice myself to someone, I hope that person is you, goddess. I'm scared that I will die before I accomplish your demands. I will try my best to survive. How can this image right now be so similar to my past self? So strange. Ariel said, if you are able to help me, then you'll be alive. However, your family can be threatened. You don't want to change your idea? No, I don't. Dwayne said, welcome, goddess. I'm the one protecting you today. My name is Dwayne. I'm the leadership of the 2nd Night Army. Ariel said, nice to meet you, Dwayne. Dwayne said, to do the job. After a long period of time, we moved to the royal palace, where the crown prince's birthday party took place. Ariel thinks, well, the temple is bigger than I expected. Even entering the gate takes time. In the future, if I want to leave the temple, I will definitely need a horse. There's a horse gate near the headquarters, so it's okay to go there to practice, right? So that's it, now it feels real. People stand to welcome her and say goddess is the most revered and warmly welcomed status, the representative of the gods. Ariel said, but the status window still appears, so I'm not sure whether the gods are real. Hessa, the god of knowledge, is not comfortable right now. She thinks it frightens me. I'm the fake goddess. Do you have any evidence proving you're the real one? Ariel thinks there is lightning in this peaceful weather. She said, what have you done? Fine, I trust you. Ariel thinks, why does it become quiet? Is it gone? Her god said, Odyssey, the god of love, is curious about your smile. Ariel thinks, what the heck? Glad that my thoughts can't be read through. Finally, I've arrived at the royal palace. People are they're looking at me so obviously. I went through this multiple times in the past. Just raise my head and walk confidently. She thinks, stand up straight with consistent eyes. Those two people are the Emperor and the Empress. Emperor Lohan Jansen Ilide, Empress Ilide. Ariel thinks the Empress was originally the daughter of Count Michael, but 3 years ago she became the new Empress. So the one with the sword, standing next to the Emperor, is the Crown Prince Kyle Alexis Elide. Errol said, honorably celebrating the 20th birthday of His Highness. I would like to convey Eliam's blessings to the royal family. The king said, thank you, Saintess. Please raise your head. She thinks I expected the relationship to be not so good, but he hates me too bluntly. God created our world. His power is divided into 9 parts. The power of love is shared with the empire, making the empire prosperous. The heroic king was reasonably chosen by the god of justice. The crown prince was born under the blessing of the god of destruction, Seal, smarter than everyone, helping the country, and theocratic politics are prioritized. May all the blessings bring the bright halo to the empire. Eliam includes the emperor's subordinates, and were also partners of His Majesty. Happy birthday to the only heir, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. All the blessings from the god of destruction, Seal, and from the other 8 gods are dedicated to His Highness. Errol thinks it seems like a burning gaze. Excuse me, I am the one who's feeling much worse. Enduring the humiliation in front of so many people, it's good to finish without making any mistakes. Why does Ariel want to do these kinds of things? Errol said, she thinks bangs suddenly exploded. What happened? Kyle took the sword and moved. King Launa said, what is going on? The Empress said, oh my god, lightning. Lightning struck the statue of the first emperor. Why did the lightning in the sky suddenly? The bronze statue was completely destroyed. The Queen Empress said, why is there such bad luck? Kyle said, did anyone get hurt? Please clarify this situation. Ariel thinks the sky doesn't have a single dark cloud. Perhaps, Hesed, was it you? Mon, the god of art, feels uncomfortable with your kiss. Hesed, the god of knowledge, said that he only wanted to pretend to send thunder, not do it for real. Errol said, ha ha, I was right. The god of knowledge Hesed feels injustice. What? Injustice? Hesed said, the god of knowledge has been demoralized. Mon, the god of the arts, looked at Hesed as he clicked his tongue. Errol said, I won't be able to survive a harbinger of bad luck. The statue of the first emperor has become crumbs. If the crown prince sat on the throne, then the empire will fall to pieces. Isn't that what it means? Errol thinks, what's up? This feeling I don't understand. Why my chest? The Queen Empress said, haha, what is this? It's rare for the Saintess to come here to give her blessings. Errol thinks, I really don't know why God is so angry, and looking back, these two seem to have a bad relationship. That's right, how good can the father's second wife be? But leaving things like this is dangerous, because this happened after receiving my wishes. If Kyle held a grudge against me, then, the king said, even though I feel very humiliated, I still want to ask for a favor. After returning to the temple, please pray for the empire. Ariel said, His Highness the Crown Prince, I'll tell the gods that you've felt blissful. Kyle said, blissful? The king said, Saintess, what do you mean? Ariel said, His Highness was born during the month of Seal and received the blessings of Seal. Destruction is also creation. Destruction is the source of all greatness. Is their mother? What stupid thing are you saying? Seal's blessing, the king said, Saintess, do you really think so? Indeed. You mean we've seen the divine power? But again, no one was hurt. Errol said, Seal wants to welcome His Highness' birthday. It's just overjoyed. He said, congratulations, Your Highness. This is a situation like lightning in the clear sky. I have to tell the gods to stop sending thunder and lightning. Ariel thinks, and then I have to investigate the relationship between the queen and the crown prince. I've nicely handled the situation that Hesed caused, so I had to hurry back. Kyle said, Saintess, the party has just begun. You wouldn't leave me and go back alone, right? She thinks, what's wrong with this kid? Errol said, do you have something to tell me? Kyle said, you're a little different today. Errol said, about what? You mean the transmission of the word of God, or is the interpretation of thunder a blessing? Kyle said, it's your achievement sentence to finish all work for today. The atmosphere has changed so much that I wonder if you have changed into a different person. Ariel said, up until now, I've lived too casually, so I decided to change. I'll take it as your commitment, but I'm sure you haven't forgotten to explain this, right? Ariel said, huh? The last thing you sent me, Kyle said, was this proposal letter. Ariel said, proposal? Ariel thinks proposal letter? Kyle said, I know it all, but I still didn't expect you to send a letter like this. Kyle thinks Ariel. What the hell did you do? He said, when you write this letter, are you aware that you are a saintess? Ariel thinks, calm down and think. Although it was a marriage proposal letter, it sounds so childish, like a congratulatory speech. Also, Kyle's answer, Kyle thinks it's a pity, but Saintess, I don't care about your love complaints. So you want to die? Saintess. She thinks no. Anyway, I have to justify myself first. Ariel said that proposal letter was just my mistake. Kyle said, mistake? Yes, that, she said, alcohol. Looks like I drank and got drunk that day. Ariel said, because I was drunk, I carelessly wrote it. Looks like I sent it to you, Your Highness the Crown Prince. I'm really sorry. Anyway, I helped you just now, Your Highness, so this mistake of mine counts as making up for the part just now. Kyle said, mistake? Are there any mistakes that are so genuine? I'm pretty shocked. You told me about your every night, how much you missed me and wanted me. Kyle thinks, besides, you also said that if I accept your proposal, you will be very happy. Kyle said you wrote it so meticulously, don't you remember? Kyle thinks this. Kyle kissed her and thinks, Ariel, you're done. Ariel thinks, after all, why did I write a proposal letter to him? I should have gone back to the shrine when the statue was beaten. Ariel said, haha, that, Kyle said, this letter has 8 pages. Are you going to report or something? Ariel said, I drank a whole barrel of wine at that time, so I can't really remember anything. I'm sorry. Kyle thinks, Ariel, what's in your head? Kyle said, people will be more honest after drinking. They will talk about their own desires. Ariel said, honest what? That's madness. Ariel said, then please pretend nothing happened. Seal's blessing today is part of my apology. Including the letter too. I'm really sorry for upsetting you, Your Highness. Now, in order to avoid bad things like this from happening, I will stick to my role. Kyle said, are you kidding me now? Ariel said, yes? Kyle clenched his hand and said, when I received this letter, do you know how many nights I couldn't sleep? But you said it was the alcohol? And you can't remember anything? Ariel ran away. Kyle said, wait. Dwayne. Kyle shouted, Saintess? She said, I'm alive. If it weren't for the thunder, I would have died. That the gods? The god of knowledge Hesed was coughing. Ariel said, sure enough, the thunder just now was Hesed. Thank you very much for this time. The god of knowledge Hesed winks. Odyssey, the god of love, is patting Hesed on the back and encouraging him. The god of art Mond is regretting putting down the. Kyle crushed her letter and thinks, when I received this letter. She shouted, I'm going crazy. This is so embarrassing. Ariel thinks, in the proposal letter this time, because of Ariel, things changed more than I thought. So dangerous. Indeed, I have to work harder. But now, Bitter said, next is Count Balmer's pottery. It was once used to hold holy water in the ancient temple of Urus. The reserve price is 100 francs. A woman said 100 franc, another said 150 franc, a third said 200 franc. The bidder said, anyone else? 200 franc, 200 franc. Ariel thought, 200 franc. Over. Is that so? It was the will of the god of art, Mond. Dwayne said, why did you invite me to places like this? Ariel said, everything is the will of the gods. She thought, that's right, it's all God's will. This story sometimes appears on the news, that things auctioned for cheap are actually treasures, and the person who got it became a billionaire. But I will not leave fate to luck. She blessed for me, the god of art. No, the god of art is with me, so if there is a treasure, Mon will let me know. Dwayne said, Saintess. Next is Countess Aldmer's item. At that moment the bidder said, it is this dagger. She told her god, the god of art Mond is looking at this dagger. The bidder said it was created by mixing dragon bones and bronze. It can be said that this is a simple but beautiful work of art containing divine power. It's not easy to see items containing dragon bones at auction. She thought seriously. I don't think it contains 100% dragon bones, probably less than 1 in 10. That's right, it's so easy to see. Noble copper dagger, what tsk. Errol thought it turns out people here also use the same trick as advertisements containing truffle 0.001%. But I'll start with 50 franc. A woman said 50 franc? Errol thought right now. Errol felt the god of art Mond is looking at the sword seriously. She said, God Mond, is that okay? She shouted, please hurry up or else. The wish of the god of art is that dagger. Errol said 100 franc. The bidder said 100 franc. Over. Errol said, phew, I'm so nervous. Dwayne said, Saintess? Errol said, I have something to stop by in a bit, please follow me. It won't take much time. Dwayne said, Saintess, this place. Errol said, that's right. The Royd Merchant Corp. She thought, I still remember clearly that he's the most powerful corp owner in this empire, and one of the 3 male leads, Cass Royd. He was once the highest-ranking successor of the Corps. Errol thought the male lead is the only one who has no connection with Ariel. It would be a bit embarrassing if the Corps knew about this, but the Royd Merchant Corp is home to the most talented appraisers. The Corp said, what are you doing here? Errol said, I have something to sell. She thought, shouldn't I make the most of what I have to take advantage of? Errol said, I want to inspect this dagger. Errol thought, from the looks of it, I don't know if it's expensive or not, but there's no way a god would lie, right? The corpse said, if you have no intention of selling it after I inspect it, I will receive 5 francs as wages, is it okay? Errol said, yes, whatever. She thought the inspection fee is cheap. The corp looked through the microscope and said then, Errol thought, indeed, even the interior at the top looks very different. I can feel the professionalism. The corpse said, this one, it's good stuff. The purity of dragon bones is quite high. Errol said, really? The god of art Mond was shrugging. So how much do you think it's worth? The corpse said, it seems that its lifespan is not very long. Compared to the value of this dagger, the dragon bone has a greater value. Maybe I can bid it up to 300 francs. Errol glanced and said, 300 francs? Dwayne whispered, how did you realize its worth? Errol said that, Ku told me. The god of art Mond is pleased with your honesty. Errol shook hands and said, I will sell it. The corpse said, thank you for the transaction. Then let me give you the gold coin. She thought this sound. Ariel said, thanks to the help of the gods, you've accumulated wealth. And he said, I'm back, Saintess. I've completed my training in 5 days to serve you, Saintess. So, from now on you leave everything to me, I will do well. Errol said, then Daisy, bring me the violet cake along with apple tea. And he said, I know, Saintess, I will bring it right away. Really, thank you very much. Ariel thought, that's right, the feeling of raising a little sister isn't that bad. Well then, let me find out what this is. Errol thought, this time it's the store. If I have to sort the things I've learned up to now, the first is the door that I can talk to the trusted gods. Seems like because my trust level is still low, some gods haven't entered. There are blessing and inspired that help elevate my ability thanks to the help of gods. I can also use the trust from the help of Mond in the auction. And there's one more new thing, the store. She thought, wow, perhaps I receive the trust like a chat window in a game. This is beyond my imagination. This looks like a window in a video game. If so, then I'll check out each of them. As I expected, the money currency is franc. If the current amount of money of the store is franc, will it be counted separately from the actual money? Errol said, if I don't have money, it'll be useless to open a store. She thought, I'll just take the rewards first. I wonder when the store will give me money to use. You will receive a multipurpose bag as a reward for opening the shop. She thought, it's not money. Is this multipurpose bag the same as a normal bag? Errol said, perhaps, current amount, 500 franc. Of course. She thought, if I put real money in the multipurpose bag, it will transfer to my current amount. Although I put in 500 franc, it's still weightless. It will be useful later on, so the money problem is solved. Most of the items are locked, and I can't view them. Is it because of my low trust level? Anyway, the simple items or small potions, I can buy them despite having a low trust level. It doesn't look very useful, but it can revise my strength. If so, then this is a magic item store. If my trust level increases, the number of valuable items will also increase. It'll be good to have as many buff items as possible. If so, then there's only one thing I have to do from now on. I'll put all of my assets into this. The art god Mond is shaking his head in front of your ambition. Errol said, what? We're partners in crime. It's not nice to do that. Mond, the god of art, asserts that art cannot be judged by material value. Errol said at the auction, you are the happiest. Through the meeting, the gods will assign you a secret mission. Errol said, secret mission? Prove your faith through fundraising. Wait, if it's fundraising. The gods said, will you donate all the money you have in your multipurpose bag? Errol shouted, these gods. Isn't it a bit too much? Mond. Hesed. Odyssey? Mond, the god of art, kept his mouth shut. Hesed, the god of knowledge, changed the topic. Odyssey, the god of love, pretended not to hear. She thought these gods are really, if they knew this was the money I had collected to avoid Rahas, would they tell me to give them all? She said, but since I entered, the gods helped me like guardians. Although they're a bit childish, they are not bad. Isn't this secret mission to make me suffer? If so, then, I know, I'll donate all. She thought they took away everything. Alright, I'll return them back anyway. Just think that I used that money to repay them after all this time. The gods said you have proven your sincere faith by giving what is most valuable right now. The three gods have agreed to open the door to your divine power. Your body is chosen by the gods to receive pure divine power. She thought this, so warm. It feels like sitting by a fireplace. A warm feeling seeps into my body. Errol said, huh? She thought, wait, what? Why do I feel nothing? Is there even any difference? The god of love, Odyssey, congratulates you on opening the door of divine power and blesses you. The god of knowledge, Hesed, blesses you for opening the door of divine power. The god of art, Mond, congratulates you on opening the door of divine power. Errol thought, there it is. I feel more attractive compared to before receiving the blessing. Maybe it's thanks to Hesed that my head is clear. The interior that once felt quite luxurious now looks so rustic because of Mond's blessing. The side effect is every small detail of the chandelier feels like a thorn in the eye. And finally, Odyssey's blessing. What? I don't even have a lover. I don't even know what love is. I wonder if Odyssey's blessing is suitable. But something is quite strange. Saints and saintesses can only use a certain amount of power, but divine power is different. The ability to use divine power is limitless. That is divine power. The only person in history with this power is Bergerita. But why was that power given to me? Errol said, come in. Ariel thought Ariel is a fake saintess who has no divine power. If the female protagonist really appears, I'll have to clear the place. But I have received this power. After all, what's going on here? Rehaz said, is there a problem that can't be solved? You don't seem fine. Errol said, nope, it's nothing. I'm just a little concerned. Then she opened her eyes and said, the Lord? Errol said, the High Priest? Errol said, I'm sorry. I thought you were Daisy. I behaved disrespectfully to you. Errol thought, wait, why did he suddenly come into my room? Did Dwayne talk about the auction sword? It seems like selling things at a high price to earn money, like running away in the middle of the night. Rehaz said, how can it be? Errol thought, what? Why are you suddenly? Rehaz said, it's okay, you can talk to me like that. She thought, what? Rehaz said, no way I can do this. Ariel said, am I allowed to talk on an equal footing with the high priest? Rehaz said, then it's fine to just call me by name. Errol thought, why is he asking me to do this? There is also no alcohol smell. But, originally, Rahas' cheeks were that red? Ariel said, I know, Mr. Rahas. Rehaz said, remove the honorifics. She replied, yes? Ariel thought, is it okay to just call your name like a friend? She said, anyway, I have to think about it. Rehaz said, no, I don't mean it. It's just a sudden slip of the tongue. Ariel raised her hand and said, Do you know where you feel uncomfortable? Ray has said nothing, I just came to say hello. Ray has said as soon as I saw the person in my heart I became uncomfortable. It's also strange today. Seeing someone I can't stand. I miss you so much, Ariel. Ariel said the hi, no, Rahas? Ray has said I'm sorry, I'll definitely come back here later, and he left. Ariel said does he feel unhealthy? Wait, what does it mean? She prayed. The god of love admires the spiritual strength of Rahas beyond blessing. The god of knowledge thinks that the soul restrained by the old-fashioned Rahas does not get along with you. The god of art judged that Rahas' aesthetic value was worthy of being your husband. The god of knowledge proposed to vote against the blessing of the god of love. The god of mercy cancelled the suggestion of the intellectual god and affirmed that all gods have the right to bless. The god of knowledge affirmed that compared to Rahas, the crown prince was better. The god of art appreciated Rahas' sharing and muscular body. The god of knowledge was annoyed about the irreverent dialogue. Ariel said, What are you talking about? She thought, Who is it again this time? At this time Annie entered the room and said, Lady Saint, I brought the red tea that you asked me for, and sweet biscuits too. Daisy, you've worked hard. But, Lady Saint, it must be a bit stupid if I say this, but, Ariel said what? Annie said you look more beautiful than before. That's why I say, if someone doesn't love the Lady Saint, they won't be able to bear it. Can it be said that it is a special feeling? Ariel thought what? Maybe this. Annie said sorry. Did I say the wrong things? Ariel thought call by name. This is a blessing from the god of love. She said thank you. Anyway, I will eat well. Now I have to go read a book. Can you go out? Annie said yes, I know. If you need anything, call me anytime. Ariel thought I was a bit confused, but I knew for sure the Cupid's blessing, now consider it an official blessing. Ray has stood in front of the gods and thought why am I, with that child, having a thought like that? This is the challenge you submitted, or the price to pay for your crimes, god of art. Ray has said I pray as your faithful servant. Led righteously the unclean soul to your soul. Please heal with pure blessing this sinful body. If not then I can't take it anymore. On the other side Annie said do you know that I became the most famous person among my fellows? Because I am serving the Saintess, they ask me all kinds of questions. A former maid asked me about your food preference even when she already knows the rules of the sanctuary. Of course, I stopped her and said no. So, if rude stories about you were spread in the temple, it certainly wouldn't come from me. Ariel said Daisy, I believe you. Later on, I'll think the same, so don't worry. Annie said thank you. Ariel thought but it looks like the people in the temple just keep gossiping. It's alright, that's normal. After the divine power is unlocked, all I have to do is go to the library and make a plan to fill my empty wallet because of the donation. The goddess is as holy as the religious leader of the nation, along with the imperial palace, the two great mountain ranges of the empire, an existence standing on top of a shrine. However, Ariel has refused to join almost all official events due to health issues. But no matter when problems occur, Rahas will take care of them. Am I currently alright? Annie said Saintess. Ariel said anyway, what I want to say is, if it's the talent that everyone needs to know well, then it's not talent at all. Ariel smiled and said I don't care what other people say, so Daisy, you don't even need to care about it. Annie bowed and said I'm sorry for saying such stupid things. Ariel said it's okay. You talked about it because you were worried about me. Annie said Saintess, a bird is injured. Ariel said it's blue wing. Annie said seems like it's seriously injured. It looks like a precious bird too, oh no. Ariel thought I see, you still want to survive. If I make a mistake, what will welcome me is death, the feeling of dying before your soul shifts, it's a feeling I could never forget, the struggle of not willing to die. Annie said Saintess, it might be very dirty. Ariel said it's alright. Ariel thought if it could live a little longer. Annie said Saintess. On the body of the person chosen by the god is covered with a pure divine power, and the bird flew away. Ariel thought didn't I just save that bird's life? Annie said, "Oh my God, Saintess, what I just saw is divine power, right?" "Oh my God!" Ariel said, "It's just a bird." Annie said, "Many priests have treated patients despite already praying with the Bible. It is very difficult for the patient to be completely healthy again. But you didn't pray. It was a dead bird and now it's flying away." "Oh my God!" Ariel shouted, "You must not tell this to anyone." Annie said, "Yes? What I just saw, let's keep it a secret." Ariel said, "Yes, absolutely. The reason that in the past I was able to act freely with peace of mind is because I already know the plot in the original. If the original turned upside down just because of divine power, in this lonely world I would have to decide my own fate. However, I want to live a peaceful life." Ariel said, "Can you keep your promise?" Annie said, "Of course I can. I'll follow your orders and absolutely won't tell anyone." Ariel saw the rose and said, "Daisy, I heard there's a new type of rose. This is the rose garden, let's take a look around. I threw the prey blue wing right here." Near the flower garden, Rehaz and a man were sitting on the chair. Rehaz said, "The man looks like it needs to be trained to stop biting its master." The man said, "Is there that kind of training?" The man was the heir of the Royd Corps, Cass Royd. Ariel said, "Why do you treat Blue Wing as prey and hit it?" Rehaz said, "We need to train it not to attack its owner." Cass said, "Is there even a training like that?" Rehaz said, "Although not for dogs, but I have to try many times to get it." "Did it work?" "I don't know. Anyway, you are not bitten back. Thanks for saving my white Lotunia. I heard it's hard to save it because it doesn't fit in this kind of climate here." "I'll not forget what you've done." Cass said, "As a small merchant corps of Royd, this is nothing. To make sure the Elium festival takes place successfully, I should do this." Rehaz said, "Thank you. Once the festival is finished, I will move them to a dedicated glass room and leave them to the gardener to manage." Cass thought the high priest, who used to be drier than a desert, suddenly became interested in flowers. Rehaz said, "Oh, I heard the dog hit it roughly, but it seems to look fine." Cass said, "There's a red spot on top of his head. This is the bird I chose, but the feeling looks like some high-ranking priest treated it. I guess that person had known everything." "Ariel," said the high priest. Ariel thought, "Why is he here? I'd better ignore him and walk away." Ariel said, "I don't know, you have guests. Sorry for interrupting you guys, I'll go now." "Let's go, Daisy." Rehaz said, "Are you taking a walk?" Ariel thought, "I can't do this." Ariel said, "I hope 9 gods will bless you and all the guests to find Elium." Rehaz said, "I hope you're blessed too. Oh, may I introduce to you, this is the small merchant corps, Cass Royd. You can call him Marquis Royd." Ariel thought, "Wait, what? Cass Royd?" Cass said, "It's my pleasure to meet you, the goddess of Elium, 9 gods." Ariel thought, "This is strange. Royd doesn't meet up with Ariel." She said, "Nice to meet you, Marquis Royd. Welcome to Elium." Rehaz said, "Do you come here to visit the rose garden?" Ariel said, "If you had told me, I would have taken you there." She thought, "Don't smile like that." She said, "How can I disturb a busy person like you?" Annie said, "I and Daisy just came across here. Please enjoy your tea time together." The high priest, "Something happened?" Dwayne said in a low voice, "It's Rehaz said there are some problems in constructing the building. Probably I have to visit there and take a look." Ariel thought, "This is the time." Ariel said, "I'll go first." Cass said, "I see. I'll have a talk with the goddess. Return soon." Ariel thought, "What is this? He even looks scarier than Rahas." Ariel said, "Marquis, I think I should return to the palace now. I have work undone, this bird." Cass said, "You know it?" Ariel said, "Ah, yes, we met accidentally. I'm happy to see it again. This is a bird that has been trained not to go to people who are not its owners, but it's been so close to you. So magical. Is this your bird?" Cass said, "Yes, it is. I thought it were dead." Ariel thought, he's that type of man in the novel, measuring and valuing everything in the world with money, a man who ignores others' pain and feelings, a man as cold as ice, even when he swings his blade to Camilla, an ice-hearted man. Cass said, "You were the one saving it?" Ariel said, "I'm not the one saving it, but how could I ignore a dying bird like that?" Cass said, "It's just a bird. If it died, nothing happened. Ariel said, how easily you talk about lives. Cass said, huh? Ariel said, have you ever faced death? Have you ever struggled to escape death? If you think it's valueless just because it's dying, then kill its life yourself. Don't force it living with hopeless pain. Cass said, you're so different from the rumors. Ariel said, am I? Anyway, I'm glad it has been treated. Is this your bird? I hope you treasure it. I'll leave now. Hope you enjoy your time with the high priest. Cass said, Goddess, we will meet again soon. Ariel thought, I hate meeting him again. Kyle and Rahas are enough to make my head spin around, and now also him? There's only one way. The only way is to escape here quickly. At this rate, I have no other choice. I'll speed up my escape from the temple. Trust experience points will increase for completing quests. Ariel thinks I heard there's another god entering the trust program. Seal, the god of destruction, congratulated himself for being able to enter the trust program and congratulates you as well. Ariel said, for sure, this feeling. At Kyle's birthday party, they used it as an excuse to defuse the bronze statue explosion, the god of destruction Seal? She said then. And thinks what, even if I destroy things, I won't be suspected, Ariel said over there. I thought I would have special powers, but that's strange. She thinks no, that book, it's obviously a reverse harem romance fantasy genre. Something changed the genre? Ariel said, I finished reading. Ariel thinks Hessa's blessing is so useful. I can read up to 10 thick books a day. Thanks to that, I was able to get a general knowledge of this place. Now it's okay if I run away. Because I have divine power, making money is not difficult. I can also use my power whenever I want. I will make money with therapy. I can also become a doctor, for the people. Of course, I won't use divine power but will only use herbs or folk methods. Anyway, I just need a job. Compared to that, blessings aren't perfect. The time I can continuously receive blessings from the 3 gods is 3 hours. But the blessing can only be used once a day. First of all, I found 4 blessings. Hessa helps me increase my ability to acquire knowledge. Mond gives me the ability to observe carefully. As for Odyssey, probably a little better, right? And finally Seal's blessing. It's been like this 3 times already. And he said, what happened, Saintess? Ariel thinks the chair was broken. I've never used this power with a human, so I don't know what will happen. Why is everything I touch ruined? She is already dead. Munchkin is a fake saint, so she's always obsessed. I can protect myself now, Ariel said. God, what a great blessing, Seal. God, Seal said, the god of destruction is very pleased with your compliment. His cheeks are already red. Ariel thinks I can tell from his reaction that he likes to flatter himself, Seal said, proud, but still can't enter the trust program. Hessa, the god of knowledge, is staring at Seal. The god of love, Odyssey, is spreading bad rumors about Seal. Ariel said, is that? You guys aren't children either. Why, it's like you're envious of others being praised. She thinks exactly. If so, then this is the only way. Ariel said, Seal's blessing is wonderful, but the blessing of Hesed, Mond, and Odyssey is really cool. Seal said, no god can help you like the god of art, I'm sure. The god of knowledge, Hesed, is wondering who is the one to help you the most. Ariel shouted, sure, of course. You guys are helping me a lot. So please stop fighting, come in. Excuse me. Annie said, Saintess, there's a guest outside. Ariel said, guest? His Royal Highness is waiting for you. What? Today I feel unwell, tell him to come back. Kyle said, your cough really doesn't have any sincerity, but what to do? I have no intention of going back. Ariel said, long live your highness the crown prince. Kyle said, all right, get out. Ariel said, I'm here to talk about what hasn't been said. She thinks the crown prince in the original that I know is someone who wouldn't spend that much time on a Saintess. What is he going to say in such a quiet place? Her god said the god of art is holding his breath. The god of knowledge prepares to strike. The god of destruction is trying to stop Hessa. The Cupid was watching the 2 of them nervously. Ariel thinks disable the trustee function. The god of art hurriedly raises his hand. Kyle said, last time I felt that your acting was very good, Saintess. but this time it looked very pathetic. All right, let's get back to the point. Kyle said I came because I wanted to warn you. Dwayne said, sir, at the last party of the Crown Prince, the god of destruction has blessed His Highness. Ariel thinks Ariel supports Crown Prince Kyle. Maybe she also knows that she doesn't need to support him. I can guess that, but she really, Ray has said, love what? If that's not a challenge for me, then she is the most special existence. Dwayne said, and the Crown Prince found the Saintess. Now they're staying together. Dwayne, yes, High Priest. Ray has said, Saintess, now where is she now? Ariel said, what? Kyle said, yes, this is the information I knew after the party last week. The Empress's brother, Alberto Michael, had an affair with the people of the temple. Maybe they are investigating behind the Saintess. Since there's no loophole, it's politically impossible to pull me down. Ariel thinks, is that so? That is the natural sequence. The appearance of the Saintess stabilized the chaotic hearts of the people. Kyle took advantage of this to stabilize his position 2 years ago. That's why Kyle colluded with the fake Saintess and Raphas. Furthermore, I supported him at the last banquet. The Crown Princess's opponent, the consort, has also smelled something and is investigating me. She thinks, however, I didn't remember what I read in the novel. Kyle had never come to see Ariel in this way. The story is a bit upside down. Ariel said, we have no information? Kyle said, unluckily, we don't have it. Alberto is also currently looking for that insider. Ariel said, weren't they already colluding from the beginning? Kyle replied, something seems to have happened to the insider that I've been secretly meeting with, so these days Alberto Michael is even madder. Ariel said, isn't that a good thing for us? Kyle said, their insider has disappeared. I won't leave this go. Otherwise, I will find a chance to attack. Moreover, the insider may have provided some information before. What do you feel? Ariel said, I don't know. Kyle said, if so, then there is no other way. From now on, if there is anything suspicious, notify me immediately. Ariel said, I got it. But Your Highness, actually, I need your help. Kyle said, my help? Ariel said, Your Highness, the Crown Prince of the Empire, whose swordsmanship's been so skillful since he was a child, also the rightful heir to the Empire. Furthermore, he will become the one to quell the Empire's brute force and give orders to the whole continent, right? That person last time saved His Highness' reputation. Now that we're allies, maybe, Kyle said, asking for marriage again? Ariel said, no. I did tell you not to joke like that. I only want one thing. Protect me. Kyle said, protect? Ariel said, they will kill me unless I become your enemy. Ariel thinks even though we're on the same boat, nothing ensures that this will end like the original. Moreover, I'm a fake Saintess who is created to stabilize that person's politics. If I am discovered as a fake one, there are so many reasons to be killed. She said, I am working hard to stabilize the politics of the High Priests and the Crown Prince. For my enthusiasm, I don't want to guarantee my retirement age, just make sure my life is fine. Kyle said, you think I'll kill you? Ariel said, I just want to take the promise. Kyle said, I got it. If you do not become my enemy, my hands will not be stained with your blood, of course under the name of Kyle Alexis Elide. Ariel said, thank you. Kyle said, you look so secure after hearing my promise. If so, I sent a letter to a man without not knowing you're killing yourself. You even wrote a proposal letter, Saintess. After all, what did you think when you were writing that letter? You said you loved me, wanted to be by my side. You were looking forward to me. What you wrote in the letter are all fake. Ariel said, what? No, that, yes, by the way, let's end the story that couldn't be finished that day. After all, Ariel said, I said it at that time, but because of drinking, Ray has said, Your Highness, so you're here. She thinks this voice is, Your Highness, do you remember having an appointment with me? I'm wondering why you and the Saintess are in a place like this. I remember that Your Highness had an appointment with me. I'm curious why Your Highness is here with the Saintess. Ariel said, May the 9 gods bless you. Kyle said, let's see, because there were things we couldn't discuss at the last party. Ariel said, that's right. Your Highness wants to talk to me about the food at the party. Kyle said, what? Ariel said, There's a lot to say about the food back then. The ingredients are not fresh at all. The conversation is over, Reyes smiled and said, after all, His Highness is the Crown Prince, and the Saintess belongs to the Divine Temple. So it's better for the two of you to avoid personal meetings. So should the Saintess. Ariel said, yes, I will be more careful in the future. Kyle thinks, why did Rahos annoy Kyle? Reyes said, since when did the Lord have the authority to control the Saintess? Ariel said, you are going too far. Reyes said, I'm usually ready to deal with the most urgent things. Your Highness knows it too. The incident during His Highness's birthday party. Some nobles on the Queen's side have their eyes on the goddess and the temple. Kyle said, huh? If you're talking about dealing with the worst-case scenario, you should have thought about this situation. I mean, my personality doesn't allow me to forgive swaggering people. Issues related to the Saintess. Did you come just to warn me? Besides, Kyle took the sword and said, whether it's approaching or personal meetings, it's not a matter that you can arrogantly talk about. Reyes said, I understood what your Highness meant. She thinks, of course, the temple is not a place for normal people to live. I have to quickly get Mondes help and leave this place, Reyes said, Saintess. Kyle said, His Highness, and I will continue our conversation. How about after that? Annie thinks conversation with the Crown Prince. It must have been amazing. Ariel sat on the chair and said, I'm dead. Annie said, S.A. Saintess? Ariel said, so exhausting. Why was the atmosphere between them like that? Annie said, did something happen? I thought meeting the Crown Prince would make you happy. Ariel said, happy? Me. Annie said, yes, Saintess. You seem to like His Highness a lot. Ariel said, what? Where did you hear those words? Annie said, everybody in the temple knows it. Reyes said, the Saintess only needs His Highness to come and chase after her. She sings about the Crown Prince while walking. Everywhere the Saintess goes, she'll talk about His Highness. Ariel said, what? Aye. She cried and said, now I see. Ariel thinks, now I know. That's why Rahas's reaction was like that. Reyes said, do you love Prince Kyle? She thinks actually, me writing letters like that to Kyle, and the story of going everywhere and talking nonsense, Rahas must have heard it too. So that, Ariel said, just change the strategy. Annie said, change strategy? Ariel said, Daisy, do you know many new nuns? I said before that I would take all the questions about me. It's even better if you can spread a bit of rumor. Annie replied, yes, of course. But for what? To say that Ariel, the Saintess of Elium, Ariel said, is loyal to being single, no love, no marriage. Annie said, what? If so, then your future fiancé will not appear. Ariel said, it has nothing to do with it. Although the generations of Saintesses were married to nobles before leaving the temple, I have an even more important job. So thanks to you, Daisy. Spread the story of the forever single Saintess. Annie said, all right. Ariel said, so, you should start to do it right away. Annie said, Daisy, you're the only one I trust. Is it really all right? Ariel said, yeah, of course. I got it, Saintess. Have a good night. Ariel lay on the bed and thinks, yes, cling to Rahas and stick to Kyle. I didn't have such stupid thoughts in the original novel. There is one more important thing, which is, after leaving the temple, I have to live like a swagger for the rest of my life. Can't waste my second life on something like love. I absolutely will not become the same as in the original story. Look, Annie said, lady, take a look, wake up now. The server is being hit by a bomb and you're still sleeping? Wake up. Ariel said, 10 more minutes. Annie said, open your eyes fast. If the server explodes at this rate, will you be responsible? Ariel said, it's still dark, but what's going on? Daisy, take the kids outside. Ariel thinks, wait, kids? Annie said, what, still sleeping? Wake up quickly. There's no time to sleep. The gods are very angry now. Right. Those crazy people are striking thunder. Ariel said, huh? What? Oh my God! Ariel thinks, what kind of situation is this? Quickly tell the gods. Tell them to awake. The server will explode soon. She thinks the server, will it explode? What are they talking about? Firstly, you just sign first, and then tell the main part of the story. Ariel said, sign? She said quickly. There ain't no time left. Ah, mine too. Please sign it. She thinks, huh? It's just a blank sheet of paper. Why do they need my signature? Wow. First time seeing an insincere signature. Her God said your signature is so bad. Also, which is better, the wood or metal frame? I'll take the metal so you take the wood one, so that we can distinguish. She thinks, what is this? I'm not an idol as well. Ariel said, but who are you? Where is this place? Why am I here? Let's talk about the main part. Even though you already have divine power, the time you can stay here as young Che is very short. Our existence is separated from the ancestral God. In your world it is called system. We are the managers of the system. This is Pan. We are the ones taking your wandering soul here. Ariel said, wait, so you're the manager of this system? You took my sleeping soul here? That's right. Although we couldn't meet the one called Young Che in person, but there ain't other ways because you have taken the God's interests too much. What? So that was your fault? Ariel said, if you're the managers, then I have tons of questions to ask, especially about what is called the care of gods. Why was the trust suddenly opened? The alarm rang without any tests. I feel like I'm being watched all day. I'm the one having difficulties here. Her soul said that even if the gods eat your soul alive, Ren is the one who believes that appearance is supreme. Don't pay attention to him. The reasons are, unfortunately, I can't tell. There's one more problem. Ariel said, what the? Her soul said, the problem I'm talking about is this. Now the gods are angry, so they're using lightning to attack the system. She thinks, Hessa, is that you? Ariel said, but why are they angry? Her soul said, Hayes, have you ever looked back at what you did? Ariel said, these are what I've done before going to bed. She thinks, chatting with Daisy. Before that I met Kyle and Rahas. Ariel said, is it because I chose not to develop the feature? Disagreeing, the feature is the right for those receiving it. However, the gods are no longer seeing you normally. They will stop the feature if they lose interest, and they are waiting out there. Ariel said, so you want me to reopen the feature, right? Her soul said, that's right, before everything gets worse. Ariel said, but what if I refuse to do it? Her soul said, what? You want to continue closing the feature? Ariel said, actually, if you can answer my questions, I will think about reopening it again. Her soul said, clearly she's not naive or gentle, but her soul, how dare you tell us what to do? The feature is such a huge blessing to you. Ariel said, whether it's a blessing or a curse, it's up to the recipient to decide, isn't it? Why do you think so? Her soul said, what are you curious about? All done now. Develop the feature. Her god said, Mond, the god of art, starts putting together your torn portrait. Seal, the god of destruction, is puffing his cheeks, complaining about your carelessness. Odyssey, the god of love, is running here barefoot. Ariel said, oh, I miss you guys so much too. Hessa, the god of knowledge, is quickly returning his lightnings. He seems to have lots of things to talk to you. Ariel thinks, of course, he was the one causing lightnings. Cecil, the god of destruction, is shaking his head really hard. Ariel said, why I had my own reasons back then. Why I had my own reasons back then. I also need to protect my privacy. Odyssey, the god of love, wonders what privacy is. Ariel said, so, that means, you're embarrassing, huh? Ariel said, I'm so embarrassed. The god of love wonders what made you feel embarrassed. Ping. The god of destruction is blushing and looking away with a displeased expression. The god of art is making goods with your embarrassed expression. The god of wisdom nods and says that he was still at that age. Ariel thinks I seem to have understood those words. Ariel said, so from now on I will nullify the prophecy when I need to, like showering or going to the bathroom. The god of wisdom disagrees with what you said. The god of art denies seeing your naked body. Ariel said, that doesn't matter. Ariel said, anyway, I will still activate the prophecy as usual, so don't act violently if you're suddenly disabled, especially you, the god of wisdom. If you overuse lightning and thunder, I will nullify the prophecy. The god of wisdom is sadly nodding his head. No matter how almighty the gods are, I am the one having power over you in this relationship, and the rule must benefit both parties. The god of love is displeased with your words. Ariel said, if only you could understand me. Of course, it's not possible. However, I have prepared something for all of you. The god of love is being curious. Boundaries are necessary for every relationship, right? That's why I made these bracelets to present my respect. What do you think? I just want to say, Ariel said, thank you very, very much. Ariel thinks, after all, they were handmade, so they are a bit rustic, aren't they? The god of wisdom looks at the bracelet and sheds tears because he was so touched. The god of love puts on the bracelet and turns around. The god of destruction wears the bracelet and blushes. The god of art said that the bracelet is priceless. She thinks, phew, thank God it worked. The god of wisdom claims that Mond has no sense of fashion. The god of art is jealous of the god of wisdom's bracelet because it is more sophisticated. The god of love is trying to stop them from holding each other's collars. Oh no, it's a mess now. Anyway, I have successfully comforted the gods. Ren and Vando must be doing fine at this time. You can't tell me? You promised that you would tell me. Her soul said, but that question is difficult. This is system administrator information I cannot answer. Ariel said, you turned me into Ariel. There must be a reason for that. The soul said, we are just scouts. The decision of choosing you was not ours. Ariel said, then tell me if I'm staying in. The returning of Saintess Camilla is true. The soul said, the returning of Saintess Camilla? Ariel said, yes, I read that novel before entering the system. The background of the novel is the Elium Temple of the Elite Empire. Camilla became the protagonist, and she's related to the three male leads. The fake Saintess, Ariel, wanted to take away Camilla's position, and she was dead at the end. The soul angel said, wait, does the novel mention anything about devils? Ariel said, no, it's mostly romantic. It absolutely doesn't include anything about devils. Why do you ask? The soul said, if that's the plot, then the prophecy they wrote seems to be true. Whoa, what kind of coincidence is this? Ariel said, what do you say? Coincidence? The soul said, I can't explain clearly, but what you read is probably a kind of prophecy that leads to this direction. If it doesn't mention devils, then maybe it's just a small part of the prophecy. Ariel thinks what I read was a prophecy, not a novel. So I didn't basically just go into the novel, but I read the prophecy of this world and was brought into the world I lived in. So after I died, I entered Ariel's body as the villain? Normally, the prophecy will come true in the future. If so, then, Ariel said, I will die, just like Ariel? The soul said, probably. But you are not the real Ariel, right? You are just a soul from another world, and you entered her body and then changed the fate of Ariel. That book has the power of prophecy. It was written by someone's hope. Ariel said, what? Whom is it? The soul said, sorry, but I can't tell you more. The important thing now is that the prophecy was distorted and you've replaced her. Run! If you tell her more, it will adversely affect the future that Ariel had created. Anyway, I'll end my answer here. Ariel said, wait. I still want to ask, we have to go back now. Dwayne said, I have had a great deal today. Are you going to sell it this time too? There is no shortage of fortune anyway, right? Ariel said, Mr. Dwayne, it's not about lack of fortune. There is a deep meaning that only God knows. I'm sorry, she thinks even all of my salary combined cannot help me escape the temple. God Mond helped me today, what a blessing. Ariel said, anyway, today's auction is pretty good, isn't it? It is said that this is an item collected from Count Rosen's grandfather. Dwayne said, yes, I think I bought too much. A garnet necklace, a sculpture of Mond, a portrait of a saint at the age of 54, and the candle holder made of lead. Among them, this necklace has a better design than before. She thinks if so, then I must have won the jackpot. Ariel said, excuse me, how many times do I have to say this again? Although it is a precious item, it is difficult to exchange with Cronia, better to use money. The priest said, I know well that she's having Lloyd's top. But what if you keep appearing like this and get blacklisted by the business owner? Thus, Cronia is an illegal item. Lloyd can't use unlawful objects. If it continues like this, I will have to meet Mr. Saintess. Ariel thinks that platinum chain must be over 1,000 francs. The priest said Mr. Saintess is busy. If you want to meet him, you must make an appointment in advance. Dwayne said if it's chronia, then it's probably opium. Ariel said opium? Dwayne said yes, it is used as a pain reliever, but in many cases it is sold as opium. It is a plant that can only be supervised in the temple. It has the effect of making the pulse unstable. If it's overused, it's life-threatening. A man said, "Do you know where I come from?" "Ha, for real? You will regret it." She thinks, wait, this person isn't she the maid of Queen Rose? Why would the Queen's maid use chronia? Ariel said God will not leave Lloyd alone. Kyle came and said very good. Ron, I hate to get in the middle of a house fight, yes. She thinks, wait, why am I? Kyle said like this again. I didn't know there was another guest. I'm wondering what wine brought the noble Saintess here. Ariel thinks, why are you here now?